Access to funding continues to hinder the local agricultural space. Farmers attending the SA BRICS Business Council want BRICS members to come up with initiatives to make it easier to access funding. Today marks day 3 of the SA BRICS Business Council Forum at Gallagher Estate north of Johannesburg. For more on this, let's bring in SABC News reporter Nompumelelo Siziba. Nompu, a good morning to you. I think before we actually get into some of the discussions that are taking place, talk to us about the energy that you see, just the atmosphere there, considering that we are just hours away from the actual BRICS summit actually kicking off.
Yes, thanks very much, Naledi. Well, there is a hive of activity here at Gallagher Convention Centre where there are a number of panels that are going to be running today, looking at issues of the oceans economy, looking at skills of today and skills of the future, and primarily the one that I'm at, which is the BRICS Business Council Manufacturing Forum that's taking place. You touched on agriculture, but what you say about agriculture is pretty much true for every other sector. That is, you need capital injection in order to invest in these areas, in order to ensure that there's growth and job creation. Naledi.
Talk to us as well about, the delegates that we do see in the room. I mean, who is there representing the agricultural sector, particularly from South Africa? And are we seeing their counterparts from BRICS nations there as well?
Yes, so in terms of the agricultural sector, we have our very own Wandile Sihlobo, who has been at the forefront, speaking to us as well about the agricultural sector. He is the head of the Agricultural BRICS Business Council chapter for South Africa. So he has actually been speaking to us, telling us about some of the challenges. He sees that there are opportunities for South Africa to actually export more to BRICS countries. He talked about the fact that we only export about 8% of our total agricultural exports to BRICS nations, and therefore there's a lot of scope for further growth in that area. So that's an area where we can grow. And of course, the problem that we have as South Africa is that as much as we do export, we do tend to have deficits with most of the BRICS nations, that is Brazil, Russia, India and China. We tend to have deficits. So there's a lot of room for us to actually fill that gap by the facilitation of more exports to those countries, particularly of value-added products and not just raw materials, which is unfortunately the case for African countries, that so often they're always just exporting their raw materials and not actually being able to have an industrial capacity that enables them to produce value-added goods which they can then export. And of course, that would be better for us, because that means higher skills in each of the countries and therefore better value and obviously making more money, which is positive for the economy of our country. Yeah. Now, Lady, I do want to just pursue the manufacturing sector, because that's where we are at the moment. And I am joined by a guest who's going to be telling us some of the opportunities and challenges that the manufacturing sector faces. I'm joined by Lisicha Mohoba. He's the Deputy Chairperson of the BRICS Business Council South Africa Manufacturing Working Group. There are about 9 working groups which cover lots of different sectors: agriculture, as we spoke about, manufacturing, aviation and other sectors. So without any further ado, because I know he's in a rush to go and join the manufacturing forum, I'm going to speak to him right now. Thank you very much, Lisicha, for joining me now. Manufacturing, of course, is the heartbeat of any economy. Africa generally, not just South Africa, suffers with the problem of a lack of industrialization. And we did see recently from our very own Statistics South Africa that South Africa has actually gone down in terms of its manufacturing capacity. What are you hoping is going to come out of this specifically for South Africa?
Thank you very much for inviting me. What we're looking to establish here today is fundamentally to build alliances between global South nations of BRICS, leveraging the Africa Continental Free Trade Agreement, but specifically looking to be able to create links between our industrial complexes as well as the, call it kasi economy, if you can call it that. Far too often in the calculation of the gross domestic product, the informal sector isn't included, But our argument is that with the technology that we have today, it shouldn't be a challenge to be able to drive that big data motivation to de-risk and also to be able to scale up our production, to be able to better service our people.
So what is holding us back? What is holding South Africa back? Why are we regressing rather than going forward? And do you think that, as you discuss with your colleagues from around the BRICS nations, that you're going to be able to instill a level of confidence in them to want to also invest in the South African manufacturing sector?
Oh yes, I definitely believe we'll be able to get investment. South Africa is well renowned for its design capability and its ability to be able to manufacture. Where we really struggle isn't on the capability side, it's really on the capacity side. On the technology that 4IR is pushing, there are two major factors there. The first is a conglomeration of existing technologies, and the second is decentralization of the user base. But 4IR hasn't been rapidly adopted in South Africa. So because we haven't done that, we haven't been able to keep up with the increasing rate of competition with the other regions. So one of the discussions that we're having here will be around skills of the future, but also around critical technologies that allow us to be able to improve our efficiencies.
So, of course, in a little bit, the Minister of the Department of Trade and Industry and Competition, Ebrahim Patel, will be speaking to the forum. What is it that you're hoping he's going to say to the delegates to continue to inspire that positive conversation about the sector?
We're open for business. COVID did not take us down. We came back stronger.
Okay, now that's a positive thought. Any last thoughts before I let you go?
I'd like the youth of South Africa to stand up, use technology, make your way into the boardrooms. Let's be the difference that we seek to see. Thank you.
Thank you so much. That was Lisitsha Mogoba. He's the Deputy Chairperson of the Manufacturing Working Group for the BRICS Business Council of the South African chapter, just giving us his thoughts there on the manufacturing sector. As you can hear, he's very optimistic about the future. And of course, in a little while, we are running a bit behind time. We'll hear from Ebrahim Patel as to what he's going to say to the Manufacturing Forum. It's back to you in studio, Naledi.
Yeah, lots of optimism. They're always good to hear some optimism. Nompumelelo Siziba there speaking to us. Thank you so much for that update. We'll catch up with her a little bit later on as well, so do stay with us.